Hey everybody, this is Brett Bonecutter, and I want to give another teaser for the Pajama Philosopher, my book that I'm trying to get out this year. I'm just waiting on some editing to be done, and then we'll be ready to go. I'm fascinated by the story of Noah, and my book talks about this in a couple different places. But with the movie coming out, I thought it'd be fun to kind of wade into it a little bit and talk about what you probably don't know about the flood story and Noah. We all tend to think about it as kids and Sunday school and animals coming on the ark two by two, and that's not all bad, but there's so much more to it, and I just wanted to talk about it real quick. But to really wade into it, first of all, we got to talk about literary devices. The Bible uses literary devices to structure a lot of um, the narratives. And so before we go to it, let's think about what we learned in grade school concerning rhyming schemes. So, for example, you might see roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. And so you have this A, B, C, B rhyming scheme. Now, a chiasm is an ancient literary device which does not necessarily use rhyming. It's usually thematic, but let's just pretend for a minute that it is based on a rhyme to make it easy. Chi in Greek is the letter X, and so chiasm has to do with a structure that looks like the inside of an X. So for example, roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, so are you, the flowers are dead. So you can see that A and A rhyme, B and B rhyme, and C is sort of the center point of the X. I don't know if you can quite see that, but that's the way a chiasm might work. Now, what is interesting is that, again, in the Old Testament especially, chiasms are used more thematically, not necessarily related to rhymes. When we come to Genesis 6 through 9, which records the flood narrative and the story about Noah, this is the chiasm that we see. Now, you may have to pause the video here so you can pause this, and I want to make it clear that I did not come up with this. This is from the book Before Abraham Was by Isaac Kikwakata and Arthur Quinn. But what you see is that through chapters 6 through 9, you have this very extended chiasm where the center of the chiasm is chapter 8, verse 1, where it says God remembers Noah. And the point of that is that center of the chiasm is where we see the height of judgment. We see the epitome of the flood, of the death of the old world, and yet in that moment, in the height of judgment, God remembers Noah. It's the apex of mercy. And so the center of the chiastic narrative about Noah is where judgment and mercy intersect. And what's interesting about this, I think, is that the whole narrative has to do with the death and resurrection of the world, the death of the old world, the resurrection of the new world. And again, the center has to do with the fusion of justice and mercy, which anticipates, I believe, the cross of Christ. Because the cross of Christ is exactly the fusion of justice and mercy, God's wrath towards sin, and yet his mercy towards sinners, so that they might have a substitute that died for them. So when we think about the story about Noah, I just want to encourage you to understand that the writer of Genesis used a literary device that's very sophisticated, very detailed, and anticipates God's justice and mercy. Take care.